This show may contain language and subject matters that are not suitable for a younger audience. Viewer discretion is advised. Viewer discretion? This is a podcast. Son of a bitch! Hello and welcome to Weird Careers. I'm your host, E.T. All over the globe, yes, it's round, people get up and go to work. But there are some fun and unusual jobs out there, and I'm here to explore them. Everything from comic book letterers to voice actors and everything in between. So please join me on my journey around the world as I dive deep into these jobs. Please follow me on the socials at Weird Careers Podcast, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, and the show itself on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and so much more. If you think you have a weird or interesting job, stay tuned to the end of the show and find out how to get a hold of us. On today's show, we have Brandon Dale and Angel Scott, who work on the production of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Brandon is the second lead fabricator for set decoration, and Angel is the head seamstress for set decoration. Welcome, Brandon and Angel, to the show.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, it's an absolute pleasure. It was really nice to meet you guys at London Comic Con this past year. It was nice to see your little booth there, see what you guys do, and saw you guys. I'm like, oh, I definitely need to talk to these guys about what they do. But before we take the plunge into that, why don't you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Well, I am originally born in Northern Ontario. And when I say Northern Ontario, I mean very north. I'm from Kapuskasing. So small town, not a lot to do, which I guess kind of helped with getting into the film industry because I grew up knitting, crocheting, weaving, sewing, and just basically doing a lot of creative stuff. So, which is very helpful with what I currently do in the film industry.
Nice.
And I'm originally from London myself. I'm a fabricator since I was a young age. Like I was always making stuff from cardboard and making my own toys, as it were. So now I get to make toys for the big boys.
So, Angel, what is it? Give it in a nutshell. What is it that you do for Star Trek Strange New Worlds?
Yeah, specifically for Star Trek Strange New Worlds, my responsibility was to make any of the set pieces that were made out of fabric or other soft materials. So this included bedspreads, pillows, sheet sets. We had a number of round beds, and I don't know if anyone is aware of this, but getting round bed sheets is not exactly simple or cheap. So one of my responsibilities was making round bed stuff. Also, though, I was responsible for doing a lot of upholstery on wall panels. So there are a lot of sections of the Enterprise and various buildings that are actually fabric covered walls. Turbo Lift is a good example of that. A lot of the portions of the walls of the Turbo Lift are actually upholstered.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So if you actually look in the Turbo Lift and you notice the blue scale-like pattern, those are the upholstered sections.
Oh, very cool.
Which was one of my responsibilities to do.
That's very cool. So Brandon, what's different about what you do compared to what Angel does then? You guys work for the same department, but you guys have two very different job titles. So what is it that you do?
They're grossly different from each other. I can guarantee you that. Basically, the way that we describe our working relationship together is that she handles the soft stuff, I handle the hard stuff. So what that basically means that on my side, I will handle the CNCs, the 3D printing, and now the laser cutters that we picked up for our crew for Star Season 3.
Very cool.
So a lot of stuff you see on the consoles or the walls, anything like that, that was stuff I would handle from the fabrication side. I would either design it or take something from the art department and work with the lighting guys to try to make something that can all work together. And then there's also my crew who will pop in the uh, the buttons as they were on the consoles, for example.
Oh,
And
cool.
then on my side, I'm taking care of the embroidery and the sewing and basically the pretty stuff that you see in the background for a lot of things.
Very neat. That's very cool. Now, how did you folks get into the industry? Like what class did you have to take any classes, or was it kind of more of a passion project? Just start with
Uh,
Brandon. Walk me through that.
well, essentially for me, it started about 20 years ago when I found the blueprints to make Kyle Katarn's lightsaber from Star Wars Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2. And that was from
Oh,
harassing my machine
cool.
shop teacher for about 6 months. I got basically going, hey, so can you show me how to make this? Can you get a teacher to show me this? Can you do? And then after that, I finally got a chance to make it while observing a student. Then I had more people ask me to make stuff. Then I got introduced to the business classes, the drama classes, the broadcasting, all that from my high school in London, HB Beale. So
Oh,
we
yes,
actually have,
Beal.
yeah, I'm a graduate of Beale, and we actually have a number of infamous people who graduated from Beale, like Paul Haggis, the producer for Million Dollar Baby and Crash, is a graduate of Beale, and I actually got
Oh,
to have
cool.
lunch with him when he came by as a guest speaker. So I got some
Very neat.
advice from him about working in the film industry and expanding from there. After
Very
that,
neat.
I went off to a couple of film schools, the International Academy of Design and Technology. I did their summer studio program, so I was there for 3, 4 weeks or so, learning the basics
Mm,
from them.
yeah.
And then unfortunately, they shut down their film school program there, so I had to find something else.
Oh.
And I found the Toronto Film Media College, and unfortunately to say, that place was a bloody joke.
Oh,
Was
no.
the things that they were trying to teach us there was stuff I learned in high school, and
Mm.
it just seemed like it was more of a diploma mill. So I felt really cheated out of that place, especially since learning about some of the teachers and the president's reputations in there after I graduated, affecting my career. But I still keep in contact with a couple of teachers there because they are actual professionals and they got to take advantage of the organizers of the school.
Very cool. Very cool. I
Yeah,
went to it's funny that you talked about you went to say you went to high school at Beale. It's funny, I've lived in London most of my life, but I went to high school in Oshawa. I went to Monsignor Paul Dwyer Catholic High School there, and they had the best media arts program in the district. And
nice.
it was there where I kind of I fell in love with the idea of media. And well, here we are. We're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you guys. Um, Angel, what's your story? What's your journey?
Growing up in small town Northern Ontario, I mean, there's not a lot up there. My high school maybe had 300 students, 350 on a good year. Um,
Wow.
Past grade 10, most of the senior electives like art, music, shop class, they didn't exist past grade 10.
Mhm.
We just didn't have the students, we didn't have the teachers. So it was a lot different experience than you and Brandon, definitely.
Mhm.
But I did ended up going to Toronto to the International Academy of Design and Technology. I graduated before Brandon even went there.
Oh,
But I went
wow.
there for their graphic design program. So Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign,
Mhm.
leading into the graphics, website programming. That was what I was there for. And again, I mean, going into the film industry wasn't even a twinkle in my mind,
Mhm.
right? And even when it came to my sewing and whatnot, I never thought that I had the quote unquote skills needed to do it professionally. Um, I ended up
Yeah.
bouncing around the country a little bit. I ended up, after I graduated, I ended up out in Fort McMurray for a couple of years, ended up in the Yukon of all places.
Oh,
And
wow.
then Yeah, and then came back to Ontario. And about 3 years after that, I met Brandon, and he was still a permit in the industry and he was working towards his membership.
And
Hmm.
Frankie had heard that she thought I was trying to ghost her so many times when she wanted to try to meet up for a weekend.
Because I lived in Kitchener, he was living in Toronto at the time. So it was kind of, we could only meet up on weekends.
Because of the fact that I was a permit at the time, normally would not know what my availability would be because I'd be calling, going, hoping to get a day to come into work so I can get more
Yeah.
hours commuted. Because to transition from a permit to a member, you have to have days and hours in, as well as good recommendations from
Yeah.
solid standing members.
Mhm.
So I eventually moved to Toronto, kind of bounced around different jobs. And then I actually worked for a mascot making company, which is where I expanded on my sewing
Okay.
skills. I was making mascots.
Oh,
And
very
then,
interesting.
due to a previous injury, my shoulder just couldn't deal with the strain of the mascots anymore. So I went back to the job I'd been working in Kitchener, and Brandon came with me.
And at that time, I'd just gotten my membership, and so that made things easier for me.
And then that job was, for lack of a better word, a shit show.
Oh
Um,
no.
I became the office scapegoat. Basically, anything that went wrong was my fault, whether I had anything to do with it or
Oh
not.
shit, eh?
Yeah, they basically promised her the world, and then they just gave her the garbage can instead.
Pretty much.
Ah.
So I finally had enough, and I quit that job. I had, at the time when I was working it, I had gotten my permit status in set deck with Brandon's help. Because, and it's funny because I had originally applied to get my permit as a crafty. Basically, I would could possibly work in any of the departments
Yeah,
depending on where they need
Okay.
people. That's what craft services does.
yeah.
Yeah.
Essentially, they're the general labor people to help out the departments that need them. So, say that special effects needed some extra labor just to pull hoses or anything like that, they would call them for craft
Mhm.
service. If all the uh, people in that category are used up, or construction, they would call it for craft service to have somebody be a
Gotcha.
sweeper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But the funny
Right
thing
on.
is I got denied my permit in that.
Oh, really?
So yeah, they denied me my permit for that. So I
Huh.
waited a couple months, and then Brandon's like, well, why don't you apply as a permit in category as set deck?
Hmm.
So I did that and ended up getting that one. So I ended up being a permit in category. And
Right
I
on.
really wanted to actually go into wardrobe, but the requirements to get into
Okay, yeah.
wardrobe is very, very difficult. There are a lot of hoops, a
Oh,
lot of red
really?
tape to jump through for
Yeah.
wardrobe. So I figured, okay, well,
Really?
I'm
What kind
already,
of red if you don't mind me asking, what kind of red tapes do you have to jump through to get to into
you need to
wardrobe?
know people, you need to know people in wardrobe.
And the people in wardrobe need to know your level of capability and capacity for work.
So basically,
Gotcha.
I have to have a minimum of 3 letters of recommendation from people in wardrobe who have worked with me and can attest to my ability.
Yeah, they
And
just can't.
Sorry, how many years you cut out there for a second?
sorry, 3 people, three
How
three
many
reference
years
letters.
though?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter how many years.
Doesn't matter.
It's
Oh, okay.
no, it's
This is all just to even just get a permit status in the wardrobe department.
Oh, wow.
yeah, this is just to get your permit status. This isn't
That's
even to become
crazy.
a member.
Yeah,
And then following
Wow.
that, you submit an application, they do a vote,
Hmm.
and then if you make the cut from the vote, then you have to do an interview. And then
Okay.
after the interview, they decide whether or not you're going to become a permit and what have you. So I figured I've already got my permit in set deck. And once
Hmm.
you're a member, you can have more than one category. So I figured, okay, I'll get my membership in set deck and then I will add wardrobe as a second category. Little did I know
Okay.
at the time that to do that, I have to go through all the same hoops that a permit would have to go to for wardrobe. I
Right.
can't just add it as a second category with a permit.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's really
But
complex.
it is
yeah.
wardrobe is one of the harder ones to get into.
Wow.
And basically, I just kind of started doing weekends, and then because of what was going on with the office job I was working, I just kind of said, you know what, I've had enough. And by that time, I had
Mhm.
already started to make some inroads with some of the leads that I had worked with.
Yeah.
We also told her just to take some time just to get herself situated mentally, to go do the work, because otherwise she'd just be burning herself out. And
No, because unfortunately, my anxiety and stress were through the roof when I left the office job, and I'm still dealing with some
Understanding.
of that anxiety.
yeah,
Mhm.
Because basically, if I ever said, like, tried to call in sick, I was made to
Mhm.
feel horribly, horribly guilty, like I was letting everybody down because I needed a sick day. So and
Yeah.
that is still affecting me quite a bit with film. Like if I'm not
Yeah.
feeling good and whatnot, I feel horrible that I have to call in because I feel like I'm letting
Yeah.
my crew down.
and there's
I
also times that
completely understand. I have an anxiety disorder as well. I'm literally the same idea. If I get to call in, like you
Yeah.
said, you feel like you're letting an entire team down. I totally understand
Yeah.
that.
But there's also situations where we have no control over anything, such as
Weather.
a weather storm that we had several years ago, just before COVID really hit us,
Mm.
where it pretty much caused her to have to cancel her call because she would have taken about 5 hours to travel from Kitchener to downtown Toronto.
Because
Oh
it was
wow.
redlined. It was redlined because it was that ice storm we had about 3 years ago.
Yeah, literally
Oh
January,
yeah.
February.
Yeah.
I
And I
remember
mean,
that.
I tried my dangest to make it in, but
It was
Yeah, you
literally
did.
tested all the way from Kitchener here. It took me 3 hours to get to my location, which normally is a 45-minute drive.
Mhm.
And for
and
her to get down to downtown, would probably taking her another 3 hours.
because
Wow.
the traffic was just ridiculous. Like, but I still have that anxiety, even in
Mhm.
situations that I can't control of I'm letting people down, they're gonna be mad at
Mhm.
me, you know, that mindset. So
Of
I
course.
didn't start like going right in full time. I kind of took it a little bit slower. And then I was not working at one point, and Brandon messages me and goes, "Hey, we need a sewer for Star Trek." And I went,
Okay.
"Okay." So I let them know I was available because I knew the lead for Set Deck for seasons 1 and 2, and
Mhm.
because I'd worked with him before on other shows. So I told Brandon, I said, "Well, let them know that I'm available." And so they brought me in, and I started just doing regular Set Deck type work, like assembling wall panels and helping with that
Yep.
stuff.
Mhm.
And then I brought my sewing machine and my embroidery machine in the one day because they were asking me about it. So I brought it in and I started doing just little trial pieces for them
Yeah.
out of fabric that I had with me and what have you. And when they realized what I could create for them, that they couldn't just buy, and
Mhm.
or it would cost, an arm and a leg to get somebody else to like to outsource it.
Yeah.
They were like, okay, yeah, no, you are going to be doing all of the sewing. And then they set me up in my own little corner so
Ah,
I have the machines and whatnot. Because where I was where all the CNC machines and the saws and all the rest of that was running. So a lot of dust
yeah.
and what have you. And I've got to keep these fabrics clean,
Yeah.
or at least as clean as I can keep them.
Once I got my
That's
master's in
awesome.
industry, I actually started making a niche for myself because that way I would actually be called upon to do more work other than just being a rank and file set decorator.
Yeah.
We're just
Makes sense. That's a smart way to do it.
yeah,
Yeah.
like my props master on Shadow Hunters is where I started getting more work and recognition for my 3D printing and CNC work because
Mhm.
that was the show that I bought those machines for and brought them in for use there. So I started having more 3D printing work done. I started getting more CNC work done. As
Mhm.
more people came in and started hearing and seeing these machines, going, "Ooh, we might have a use for you."
And I mean, a similar thing when they find out that I have access to an embroidery machine or that I know how to program embroidery machines, because
Mhm.
I have gotten requests from wardrobe departments saying, "Hey, we're having trouble getting the embroidery machine to do XYZ."
Yeah.
So I'll usually go over and give them a hand.
Or
Or
Very
if they need
cool.
patch made up for somebody or a tag made up for coverings, they would just
Hmm.
go, Brandon, can you get Angel to see about making this for us?
And then I
That.
also had the fact that I had some equipment that I own personally that I brought in, um, that they didn't have, and it would take a while to outsource. I let them know, hey, I have this. If you
Yeah.
need to use it, let me know. You're more than welcome to use it.
Nice.
Right. So that kind
Hmm.
of helped. And I mean, there was a lot of jobs I worked on where there was little things that needed to be, quickly hand stitched together or fixed. And my lead started to learn that, oh, well, she's got a little sewing kit with her at all times. She can take care of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, between
Nice. That's
Angel and
awesome.
I, our kits have,
Pretty much everything you could think
yeah,
of needing.
like we
Awesome.
literally pull things out of our kits and going, why the fuck do you have that? Where's my covering?
To which we both usually shrug and go, the condom rule. And I'm like, the condom rule? Yes, it's better
Better
to
to have
have
it and not need it.
than need it and not have it.
Hey, that's so true. That's so true. I like that analogy.
That
Yep.
that is the rule we tend to try and live by.
So, Angel, when designing a prop or like a prop set piece, what factors do you need to consider? For example, let's take this tribble for example. Um, like different fabrics reflect reflect light differently. Different colors show differently in person than they do on camera. So tell me, like, what would the process be, for example, of let's say designing said tribble?
So in the case of the tribbles and a lot of the set pieces that I made, I didn't really have to worry too much about what fabric was used, simply due to the fact that the department head as well as the buyers would work together and pick the fabrics and
Yeah.
then just bring them to me and say, okay, this fabric is for this set. In the case of the tribbles, because I wasn't back on the show officially at that point, this was a commissioned order.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had to do a little bit more legwork. And basically, the way it worked was is that I would, you know, find out, okay, do you want long hair? Do you want short hair?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want multiple colors? Do you want, fluffier, not so fluffy? And then I
Mm-hmm.
would go out to different fabric stores and I would take pictures of different furs within that kind of realm that they were looking for and go, okay, so, and I would
Okay.
like
Cool.
number the pictures and then they would send me back the information going, okay, we like furs 2, 3, and 4,
Yeah.
right? And then as for size, and designing it like the design for a tribble is really simple. I can't go into detail as we know, but it's very simple. I mean,
We've got a
compared,
good visual right here of what it looks like.
yeah.
They're
So I
not
mean,
overly complicated to design.
no, they're not overly complicated to design. They are one of the few products or projects that I had that were entirely hand done. I didn't do any machine sewing on them
Yeah, the closest thing to machining on them was just me making a template for her to cut off of.
because I knew I was going to be making a lot of them. So having a template that was a little
Oh,
bit
true.
stronger than, say, tissue paper and or like construction paper or something like that.
Yeah.
So I basically had Brandon just machine me a wood template or well MDF template
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
use that it would stand up a little bit better.
Especially
Hmm.
having to do about 150 of them.
Oh, that's quite a few.
Yeah, there was 100. It was 150 was the order. It was 3 different sizes and about 4 different colors.
They are very fluffy. They're very fuzzy. I will say I do really enjoy my emotional support dribble.
Well, and they got called that because I noticed that a lot of people would just pick them up and start petting them.
Right?
That kind of became the thing. So they are a recreation. They aren't an exact replica because I cannot legally do exact
Yep.
replicas. I've had to change my patterns.
Yep, of
Uh,
course. Makes sense.
yeah, but I mean, even the original ones, we only got about 15 of them back out of the 150 I had given to Set Deck.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what happened to the rest of them. I
It's a
can
nice bag.
I can imagine what happened to the rest of them, but I can't say for certain where the other 135 went from the 150 I gave them.
I think there was a portion of them in the first episode from season two.
And that's entirely plausible. But again, I didn't have much to do with fabric selection. There were
Okay.
occasions where I'd say, okay, you guys want me to use this, but it's not going to do what you want it to. And
Okay.
then have to explain, like, we can get a similar color, but you need to get it in, say, a stiffer fabric.
Okay.
Like, some of the bed sheets they wanted me to make, I was using essentially really flimsy satin,
Yeah.
and they wanted me to make bed sheets and fitted sheets out of this. And when I say flimsy, I mean you sneeze and it would fall apart at the seam.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Okay.
And they want this on a bed that a person is going to be interacting with.
Yeah, that's not
So,
gonna work.
but unfortunately, we couldn't get the same colors in a slightly thicker satin. So I would end up having to triple reinforce the seams just to make sure that it could stand up to
Yeah.
whatever was happening in the scene.
hmm
And in some cases, I would make 2 or 3 sets
Okay.
just on the off chance that, something happened and they needed to change the sheets out.
So Brandon, kind of take us through the same thing. When you're designing, because you're a lead fabricator. So do you then take what people have designed and then make it into a practical world, or what is it that you're doing? Like, walk us through one of your favorite designs.
So yeah, the process for making some of the stuff would really depend on what's needed to be done. Like
Okay.
one of the pieces I actually had to make up for Shadowhunters was called the Soul Sword base. The
Ooh,
way
that sounds
it
fancy.
was, yeah, it's interesting. It was one of my first builds that I actually did uh, professionally in the film industry on screen. This
Very
actually has
cool.
a, yeah.
Very
Essentially, I got
cool.
called into my department head's office, and I'm thinking, "Oh crap, am I in trouble? What the hell did I do this time?" And that's just the running gag that anytime I get pulled into the department's office, I just make the gag up. Oh crap, I'm going to the principal's office. Essentially, I get pulled into his room, and the two art department heads are there,
Mhm.
and they asked me if I could make something up uh, based on a description that they gave me of it, basically of the villain of the series, Valentine, had just lost his major base, and his plans
Okay.
for the episodes were falling through.
Mhm.
And now he's having to do a jerry-rigged, a last-minute thing to have his plan succeed because he no longer has the angel energy that he was hoping to steal from the episode previously. So I told him, "Can you give me a description of what I'm looking for? Like, are we talking like Excalibur sword and stone
Mhm.
kind of moment set up as techie shit?" He goes,
Yeah.
"Exactly that." So I go, "All right, can you give me a bit just to go look around, see what we have in our build pile? Maybe I can jerry rig something up." So went around, found an air filter, like an industrial air filter,
Okay.
some a hubcap from a Ford, which I cut the emblem off so I can put the sword through, computer monitor arms, and some other scrap pieces, and just did up a quick layout and plan. Brought them out there to see what I'm thinking of, just to get an idea if I'm heading in the right direction for them. Going, oh yeah, that's awesome, great, keep going. I want to see more.
That's
So
awesome.
I asked I asked them if I can get a P card, like a purchase card to go
Mhm.
to a scrapyard just to buy additional components because they're thinking me of just uh Junkyard Wars scrap build this. And I'm
Mhm.
going, okay, I'll see what I can get together. So I get a rim, a black rim, uh, weld it all together, throw some old circuit boards on top of it, Then I had construction make out a base for it all to sit in so that the guys in the wiring department can put up lighting inside.
Yep.
And I had plans to put a pressure plate inside the filter so that when the sword goes in, the power's on, and when it comes out, the power's off. But for practicality, they told me not to worry about wiring up anything like that. You were just making things a little more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Is I have to remember that I'm not building for somebody on the off chance here that is having this in their home or having it as a display
Mm-hmm.
on a convention. This is being able to be controlled on the outside from somebody else.
Yes.
So I have to take that in consideration with anything I'm building, is that I have to
Okay.
think about how it's being put together. Can I transport it down easily so that it's nothing too big or it's not going to fall and crush somebody like the monkey cages that we
Yeah.
had to deal with on Umbrella Academy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right. Sorry.
The
Hot
monkey
Zone.
cage. Hot Zone.
Yeah, sorry. Hot Zone, not Umbrella Academy. Shows start blending it in together.
It happens after a while, right?
And actually, no, I did have a monkey cage on
You
Umbrella.
did. The one out there
Yeah.
really crushed me. Hot Zone.
Yes.
I nearly got taken out by monkey cages.
Because we were in the Hamilton City Hall basement, and the only way we could get these down there was actually with a crane.
Okay.
So basically, I was at the top directing the crane. Brandon was with another guy underneath, like down below. So I'd send the crane hook down to him. They'd lay it flat, hook it on. I'd raise it up, pull it towards me, drop it standing upright on its wheels, unhook it, and give it to the drivers to
Oh,
pass
that's
into the
cool.
trucks. The problem was that where we were working, there was a bit of a ramp
And a small hole.
and a small hole in the ground.
Mhm.
And when I went to unhook the cage, it rolled forward and one of the wheels got caught in the hole, so it tipped over.
Oh,
And I didn't. And my only thought, because I know that they're expensive to rent, my thought was, oh shit, it's falling down. I better catch it. But
oh
I'm 120
no.
pounds soaking wet.
And our drivers did not follow the instructions I laid out, which was to stand by and catch the things with her so that
Yeah.
they can just load it right up into their truck because it's going to take everybody there to get these things out of there.
So what ended up happening was within seconds, the crane operator had seen what was happening and like bolted over and caught it before it could land on me.
Like he basically Superman
Oh
that
my
shit with her.
God.
Yeah, like I looked at him after and I said, I guess you're a dad because only a dad can move that fast.
As a dad, I can I can
You can
I can
attest
vouch
to
for that.
Yeah,
I can attest
you
to
can
that.
attest
Yeah.
to that.
Our
Yeah.
reflexes, we have like spidey senses, I swear.
Well, and like I said, like
Oh.
he saw it hit the hole and like he was off the crane and beside me in the span of a blink.
Yep.
So
That's
And he was literally up
insane.
there 3 seconds before me because I was hearing what was going on. I'm running up the stairs and he's there just before me, and I'm ready to lay into the drivers that we had who were not
Yeah.
listening to the jobs that I gave them to do. But that's a story for something else.
Ooh.
We completely went off
That
track
is
there.
talk about a crazy day on set. Holy moly.
yeah.
Alrighty, we are going to take a quick break here to hear from our sponsors. So don't turn that dial because we will be right back.
I'm Angel.
And I'm Brandon.
And you're listening to Weird Careers.
Are you looking for entertainment for your next big event? Well, look no further than London Spider-Man. London Spider-Man specializes in birthday parties, corporate events, and city and community events, starting as low as only $35. If you're looking to contact him, just check him out on his socials at London Spider-Man on Instagram and Facebook, or at 519spiderman@gmail.com. London Spider-Man, the Forest City's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And welcome back. If for some reason you're just joining us because this is a podcast, not a radio, so it wouldn't make sense, but we're going to put it in here anyways. If you're just joining us, we have Brandon Dale and Angel Scott who work for the set decoration department for Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Welcome back.
Good to be back.
So, Angel, tell us what's your favorite proper set piece that you designed or created? We talked a little about the Tribbles earlier. Is there something else that you're really proud of?
Um, I'm proud of it, but I wouldn't necessarily call it my favorite set piece.
That's fair.
More like my nightmare set piece.
Well, I know.
But I am super proud of the fact that they actually hold together because I doubted it was going to work. For
Okay.
season 2, there is a flashback episode where you see basically mash tents or like surgical tents,
Mhm.
as well as body bags.
Yeah.
I had to make the body bags as well as help in the assembly of the mash tent.
Make the body bags.
Make the body bags.
Walk me through that one.
Well, the reason it's both my nightmare and my proudest achievement is because they are made out of shower curtain.
Get out. That's cool. That's
Very
neat.
very flimsy plastic shower curtain that are
Okay.
actually sewn together.
So here's my question for you then. So why, if is it easier to fabricate a body bag than to just order body bags then?
It wasn't even so much that, it was they wanted something that was opaque. They wanted it
Okay.
partially see-through, and body bags that you buy are never partially see-through and or see-through because it's meant to hide the body, right?
Yes. Oh, okay, right.
So they wanted something that was cloudy but still looked like a body bag, so that you could at least see like the amorphous form of a body inside without actually seeing all the gory details.
Oh, okay. Very interesting.
Let's just take a actual body bag and fill it with a pillow or something inside to give the illusion that there's something inside.
Whereas in this case, they actually
Mhm.
wanted to make it look like there were bodies in it. So these bags actually had to be able to hold a foam body in it.
Oh, okay. Very interesting.
As most
That's
people would
cool.
assume, sewing shower curtain is not exactly something that is easily achieved.
No, I guess it wouldn't be because of the material.
Exactly. You run the chance of perforating it, and then basically it would break apart if you put any pressure.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into detail on how I figured out how to sew it together. That's kind of my little secret.
Very
Basically,
cool.
I had told them right from the beginning that I thought it was a bad idea,
Okay.
but they insisted. They also wanted the bags to have a full-length zipper that went across the top seam and down one side because they wanted it to be more futuristic, was also the other reason for the fabric choice, right?
Okay. Yep.
But it had to be functional in that there were handles on it so that you could see background actors moving these bags around.
Yeah.
So somehow, and I'm not sure how, I swear it's black magic voodoo on this part at this point, but all of the body bags actually survived.
Wow. Incredible.
And they didn't leak either because there's fake blood in a lot of them. And somehow or
Oh,
another,
wow. Okay.
they didn't leak, they didn't break apart, the bodies didn't fall out.
Huh.
So
Very cool.
it was both my nightmare, but also my proudest achievement because of the fact that they held together. And I told them from the get-go, I said, look, if they fall apart, I take no part in the blame for that because I told you guys this wasn't going to work. However, if
Yeah.
they held it together, I would take all of the props because getting them to stay together was not exactly an easy feat.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Good for you. Congratulations. That's quite a feat to accomplish. Good on you. That's cool.
And apparently, these body bags have now made me infamous with some of the higher ups for Strange New Worlds.
Ooh, there you go. Moving up in the world.
I'm not sure if it's a good
Very
thing or a
awesome.
bad thing at this point, but we'll find out.
I was just say, yeah, we'll find out. Brandon, uh, tell me, do you have a favorite piece that you've put together? You talked about your the sword.
Yeah.
Uh, is that your favorite piece, or do you have something else?
There are so many things I've made over the years that they each have a special moment for me. Like I did a number of props I made for C, and there was actually a moment that involved Jason Momoa coming into the props building room when I was in the middle of making a piece for him,
Okay.
scaring the crap out of me because I wasn't expecting him to be there. But it's really hard to lay down one favorite piece. But definitely,
Mm.
if I had to categorize it from recent shows, I'd say for C, it was the Easter egg weapons I made for there. So
Oh.
I made Jason Momoa's trident from Aquaman, his sword from Stargate Atlantis,
Huh?
and the daggers for David Bautista from his time on Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, cool.
I was quite literally in the middle of painting the trident, like I was almost done painting it. Jason comes in
Yeah.
there, grabs me from behind, going, "Oh, dude, that looks awesome!" Scaring the crap out of me. And
That's
if I
funny.
had to say anything for Star Trek, I would say uh, I don't recall if this was ever seen on screen. Like I'm not 100% certain yet because I don't recall if it was. But it was the
Okay.
dilithium crystal holders that took me 2 weeks of printing on both of my large format 3D printers I had there. And it's one of the more memorable ones because it really proved the value of the machines at the time. Because
Hmm.
somebody kept on disconnecting my fucking power.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
And everyone was freaking out as soon as they saw the machines were turned off, going, "Oh crap, we just lost these many days of power. What the hell's going on?" And going, "Guys,
Oh, God.
calm down, put the cable back into the wall, put the cable back, put the cable back in the wall, and you'll see why these $10,000 machines are worth the fucking price. Plug it in,
Mm-hmm.
machine
Mm-hmm.
picks back up exactly where it left off once it warms
Oh,
back up."
that's amazing. Mm,
And
that's amazing. You said that there was the dilithium crystal holders for the Enterprise?
yeah, basically these
Oh,
were
that's
about 20-inch tall pieces
mhm.
made from various components, but the
So
biggest ones took up to 2 weeks to print. Well, they had me make up another piece in season two that had a bit of a tie-in from the Enterprise series. Uh, that was I'm trying to remember what episode it was. I know it was probably episode 7 or 8 where they had the crossover episode.
yes, they had to get the every ship had a piece of whatever the NX-01 was made of. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, the piece that they took out from the Enterprise's matrix system, I don't know what it is. I actually worked with my boss on the initial layout, but I designed and printed up and painted all the parts inside that thing, with the exception to the walls of the holder. Like I
That's
don't
really
remember exactly what it's
I'm
called.
looking at it right now. That one made it to screen. That one definitely made it to screen.
Yeah, because that was
Um
a central feature piece.
oh, that was such a cool episode. That's honestly, it was one of my favorite episodes too. I loved that episode.
Yeah, basically it was that little cylinder that had all the heat creep in it. That took a while for
Yeah.
me to paint up. That
Oh,
was the
really?
Yeah, because it was just a matter of getting
Okay.
the right tones for the color temp change from the heat creep.
Oh yeah, for sure. So there are with every job on the planet has ups and downs,
Yeah,
good parts and bad parts. What are the best parts about what you guys do?
for me, I would definitely say seeing the fans try to recreate the stuff that we've made, and then seeing the reactions when folks realize that we're the ones that made the original ones for the show. Like
Yeah.
back when Shadowhunters was first airing up, and I ran across a couple of cosplayers at Fan Expo. A couple of them
Hmm.
were dressed up as the characters from it, and I'm going, "Cool, you did a great job at recreating some of these pieces I made up."
Very
And they're going,
cool.
"Wait, you
Very
made
cool.
these?"
Hmm. I think I had I'm pretty sure I had the same reaction when I met you guys at Comic Con. You made these? What? That's so cool. Aja, what about yourself? What's the best part about what you do?
The diversity of the job every day.
Yes, that too.
Like not every day is exactly the same, which is nice.
Hmm.
It's not just, you go in, you sit at your computer, you do a bunch of paperwork, you go home. It's
Yeah.
you walk in and it's I'm making body bags, I'm redoing cots, I'm making curtains, I'm designing a meditation cushion, I'm
And even
Hmm.
on shows that we're not on Star Trek, the jobs change quite often every day because we're doing everything from decorate a bedroom, decorate an office, get ready to
Yeah.
make a blown up room, set things on fire.
like I was working
Very
on
cool.
Cross. It hasn't I don't think it's come out yet.
No, I don't think so
Um
either.
but I wasn't part of the dressing group. I was part of set deck, but I was in the warehouse.
Hmm.
And basically, I was the second warehouse lead, or the warehouse lead
Okay.
assistant, I guess would be the best way to describe it. And so my job every day was, there were some similarities, but it was still very different from day to day because I go in one day and I'm, packing stuff off the table into boxes, labeling it and putting it on the appropriate shelf. And
Hmm.
then the next day I am, in getting all three of our trucks loaded to go to different locations, or I'm making sure that the returns go out, or double checking to make sure that the returns have been done. So
Hmm.
it was never the same. Every day was different. And I mean, on that show, I went through all three stages at least 5, 6 times a day, going from
Hmm.
like the back 40 to the Biggs lockup to the main lockup to stage two to go and find
Hmm.
something for somebody that accidentally got brought to the wrong set,
Or the cargo containers.
or the
Very
cargo
fun.
containers. Yeah, or having to go outside to the cargo containers to dig something out.
Yeah.
Um, it's always different. It's never the same. So
That's awesome.
it doesn't get boring like doing the same repetitive thing every day can occasionally get.
And the fact
That's
that
amazing.
every
That's
day is
awesome.
its own little unique challenges is the other great thing because when we're doing our jobs, we generally have to prepare for uh, worst case scenarios on something because that's the other reason why that we have the kits that we do because you never know what's going to happen because something could easily break and or something not working properly. No, not everybody's going to have the same kit or same tools available or be prepared for anything.
Okay. So let's talk about the other side of the job. There's always that from what I've learned about talking to a lot of people in the industry is that job security is probably the hardest part about working in television and film.
Oh yeah,
So
That and the
let's
hours.
talk about that strike. Let's talk about it.
yeah.
Uh, let's start with Angel. How did it affect what you do? And probably actually it affected you both the same way because you guys work in the same department, I presume.
It did and it didn't.
Okay.
Brandon was still in prep for Strange New World season 3. They hadn't
Hmm.
gone to camera yet. So they actually shut down before I did. The show
Oh
I was
wow.
working
Okay.
on, yeah, the show that I was working on, Cross, we were in the last episode and a half. So we had all our scripts, we
Ooh,
had all our rewrites. So we were able to finish filming and do wrap out. So
that's
I
good.
wasn't affected by the strike until the end of May, beginning of June, whereas Brandon had been off from the beginning of April,
uh, Mid-April.
mid-April, sorry. So it affected me slightly different, and that's the same thing with anyone in the industry. It depended on how many scripts they had, what was completed, what wasn't completed, how much was
Hmm.
left, to decide on when those shows or programs would shut down. Some got to run a little bit
Yeah.
longer, others depending on what they had.
And others were immediately canceled before the strike was even officially announced. Like
Oh
I know a
wow.
few people that were on a show that literally they just started moving stuff in, like all their warehouse stuff, only to get terminated days later.
Oh, oh, that's rough.
Yeah,
That's rough.
like working in film and television is the best part-time job you'll ever have. That is the quote I get from every single senior member of my union. And I
Yeah,
even quote that to the students that I go into Beale as a guest speaker for. And frankly, uh, even I know that there's always going to be a chance that I could be let go from any point in time. Working with certain
yeah.
actors, if you look at them and at their general direction, they will fire you. And that's not
Wow.
me exaggerating. That is actual truth. There are a number of actors that if you look at them, you get fired.
I have comments for stuff like that, but I don't think I'll put them on the public forum.
No.
But it does make it tricky because you're constantly on and off EI. You're constantly, plugging away to try and find your next contract. In some
Yeah,
cases, like Brandon's usually pretty lucky because he'll end up getting show called. I have yet to be a show call. I'm usually what's known as a permanent weekly, um, which when I was a permit was a little bit harder to achieve because usually members trump permits. I got a little
yeah.
bit lucky on Strange New Worlds because finding someone that could do what I was doing and had the equipment that I had, because season one I was still
Mhm.
a permit. I didn't get my full membership until just before season two.
Okay.
So there is always the possibility when you're a permit that you can get bumped off a show,
Unless there's
Yeah.
valid reasons to circumvent that bumping.
which is what happened with me on season one. There was a valid enough reason to have a no bump order put on my
Well,
name
that's
for a
good.
show because again, trying to find someone that had the same skill set at the same level that I had for set deck
Mhm.
um, was something that isn't usually seen.
And the same thing happened with me on Shadowhunters in the first season because I was still a permit when I got asked to be a show call.
Mhm.
Like those
Wow.
are aberrations in and
Mhm.
of themselves. Uh,
Right on.
and then as a member, I have the safety that if I'm a permanent weekly, I'm less likely to get bumped. However,
Mhm.
as a permanent weekly, when show hits wrap out, I'm usually one of the first ones cut.
Unless one of the show
Ah.
calls take themselves out to go on to another production.
Mhm.
And generally that can be the case because a lot of times uh, they don't want to deal with the wrap out, the pack up, and everything. They just want to go on to the next show.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. So, do you guys have any words of wisdom for anybody who, any of our listeners out there who are looking to get into the industry?
Have a backup.
Not
No,
bad
I'm not
advice.
joking
That's
about
actually
this.
really good advice.
Having a backup career or a secondary set of skills that are easily transferable is one of
Mhm.
the best things you can always look for doing.
Right
Because
on.
for us, our skills that we have in set deck, they're highly transferable for warehouse work or the like, because we have to have our forklift licenses, telehandlers, all that kind of stuff, as well
Okay.
as various certifications. So we could find jobs in warehouses, but the problem is, where we are right now, there's not a lot of warehouse work available for us.
Mm, gotcha.
The other
Um,
advice I would give, and this is more so for women and girls who especially are looking at something like construction
Yeah.
or set deck warehouse,
yeah.
don't just sit back. You know, take the initiative, show them that you can keep up with them. And the
Yeah.
reason I say this is because as a girl in set deck, which is a very male dominated section, like carpenter, like the carp department would be, you have
Hmm.
to really show them that you can do the job.
Yeah.
But
Of course.
once you've
Yeah.
shown that you can do the job and that you can handle it,
Hmm.
you have no issues after that. It's just don't walk in and just expect the guys are going to, bend over backwards to help you.
Yeah.
Do it,
Yeah.
learn to do it yourself. Like learn to be able to do the work by yourself. That way, if, say, you're in my position in the warehouse on cross and you don't have anyone that can really help you with something, you can still get your job done. Because at the end of the day, you have to get the work done.
Yeah.
It needs to happen because there's a schedule. And you need to make sure that that schedule is kept.
The other piece of advice I also would say is diversify your skills and don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. Because the number of times where I've actually had crew members bully the new person off of a job that I assigned them to do. Because I'd be generally put in placement of leadership and control of a crew, and one person would kick the other person off a job that I assigned them to do because I knew their skills were more capable of what I requested them than the person that was trying to kick them off.
Of course. Well, I just want to say, Brandon and Angel, thank you guys so much for coming on today's show. You know, we really appreciate you sitting down and talking to us about what you do. Holy shit, have I learned a lot about set deck and fabricating and all that stuff. Holy shit, like such really, really cool, really interesting things what you guys do. But before I do let you guys go today, I do have to ask you the most important question. What did each of you want to be when you grew up?
Really, I didn't know. I just kind of fell into this.
I actually wanted to go into forensic science.
Oh, get out. No way. That's like totally different. I love that.
I just didn't have the marks in chemistry. I had the marks in biology, just not in chemistry for it.
Oh, so how did you get from wanting to get into forensics then to get into this? Like, what was the...
There really wasn't...
What was the catch?
There was no catch. It was literally, Brandon made the suggestion, and I was like, yeah, well, you know, it'll pay the bills.
And I'll have to get ahead of some things.
That's very cool. Well, thank you guys so much again for coming on today's show. It's been an absolute treat to sit down and talk to you guys today. Hey, do you think that you've got a cool or interesting job? Maybe you do. Your 9 to 5 could be a lot more interesting than you think it could be. Or maybe your neighbors or your cousins or your best friends or your weed dealers. Okay, maybe not that last one. But if you think you've got a cool or interesting job, shoot us an email at weirdcareerspodcast@gmail.com. Like what you heard? Make sure to give us a 5-star review wherever you're listening to us. It really helps us to get seen. Thanks for listening, and until next time, I'm E.T. Cheers.